Imagine a whole life built on lies. A man who has everything. Money, power, luxury, and a woman who has almost nothing. Only dignity and a pure heart. Everything seemed to be following the common path until an unexpected situation changed absolutely everything. When you think you've already understood the story, that's when everything turns upside down. Get ready. Because this was simply unbelievable. It was a rainy autumn afternoon. The small but clean restaurant called Canteen Tu Sabo was almost empty. Inside, behind the counter, was she. Laura Mendez, 28 years old, hair tied in a simple bun, uniform impeccable despite being worn out, brown eyes full of a light that tiredness could not erase. Laura had been working there for 6 years. Orphaned by her mother since she was 18, she built her own life alone with great effort. Every day she woke up early, took 2 buses, and came to serve tables with a sincere smile. Even when her heart felt heavy. "Good morning. What will it be today?" she always asked with kindness. She never complained about the small tips. She'd never answered rudely to rude customers. For her, every dish served was a way to honor the effort of the mother who raised her alone. On the other side of the city, in a luxury office, on the top floor of a glass building, was he, Ricardo Albuquerque. 35 years old, millionaire, owner of a large construction company network, serious face, tailored suit, cold gaze of someone who'd achieved everything alone, or almost. Ricardo had lost his wife 3 years ago in a tragic accident. Since then, he had immersed himself in work. He no longer smiled. He no longer trusted almost anyone. For him, people only approached him for his money. That day, by chance, his car broke down near the restaurant. He entered, irritated, wet from the rain, looking for just a quick coffee. He sat down at the corner table. Laura approached with the menu. "Good afternoon." "What? Would you like to see the menu, or do you already know what you're going to order?" Ricardo barely looked at her. "Just a black coffee. No sugar." Laura smiled anyway. "I'll bring it hot and fresh." As she walked away, Ricardo noticed something strange. Her hands were delicate, but calloused from work, and in her eyes there was a peace he had forgotten existed. He shook his head, pushing the thought away. "It's none of my business," he murmured. But something inside him had already changed, and it was precisely because of this silent change that, in the following days, Ricardo started returning to the restaurant more frequently. In the following days, Ricardo returned to the restaurant. He said it was for the good coffee, but in truth, it was for the tranquility he felt there. He watched Laura from afar. He saw how she treated everyone with respect. He saw how she shared the little she earned with the elderly colleague who needed medicine. He saw how she comforted a customer who was crying over financial problems. One afternoon, a rich and arrogant customer entered. He sat down and began to humiliate Laura in front of everyone. "This food is cold. You are incompetent. How much do you earn per month to ruin my lunch?" Laura lowered her gaze, took a deep breath, and replied with a firm but calm voice. "Sorry for the inconvenience, sir. I'll change it immediately. And if you want, today's lunch is on the house." The man laughed loudly. "On the house? With what money? Girl, you can barely afford the rent." Ricardo felt his blood boil. He stood up and walked over to the table. "Enough. I'll pay for his lunch, and I ask that you leave now." The man recognized Ricardo and left grumbling. Laura looked at Ricardo, surprised. "Thank you. But you didn't have to." "I did," he replied. "No one deserves to be treated like that." That night, when closing the restaurant, Laura sat alone. She thought about the bills that were piling up. She thought about the expensive medical treatment she needed for a chronic illness she had recently discovered, and she whispered to herself, "Life is not always fair, but we keep standing." Ricardo, from afar in his car, saw the scene. He felt a pang in his chest that he hadn't felt in years. He wanted to help her. He wanted to do something. But pride still spoke louder. That pang in his chest, however, did not leave him in peace. And the next day, something much worse happened to Laura. The next day, Laura received a devastating call from the hospital. The exams confirmed that her condition had worsened. She needed to start an expensive treatment immediately, with hospitalization and imported medications. Without it, the risk was serious. The hospital demanded a large deposit to begin the procedure. Laura didn't have the money. She ran to the restaurant and asked the owner for an advance. He refused. "I'm already behind on the bills, Laura. I'm sorry." She called all her acquaintances. No one could help. Sitting on the kitchen floor of the restaurant, she cried softly. "I fought so hard. I can't stop now." Ricardo entered the restaurant at that exact moment. He saw Laura devastated. He asked what had happened. When she told him, through tears, he remained silent. He could pay for everything. It was just a number in his account. But something stopped him from offering right away. Maybe fear of being used. Maybe fear of caring too much. Laura raised her gaze, her eyes red. "I know life charges a high price, but I'll find a way. I always have." Ricardo left without saying anything. Inside the car, he hit the steering wheel hard. Why does this bother me so much? Meanwhile, at the hospital, Laura waited for the answer. The pain in her body increased. Hope seemed to have gone away with the day. When everything seemed lost and without a way out, unexpected help came from the most unlikely place. The next morning, a hospital attendant entered Laura's room with a smile. "Good news. The treatment has been authorized. The deposit was made a short while ago." Laura blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" "Pay anything." The attendant handed her an envelope. Inside was a simple handwritten note. "It's not charity. It's justice. Someone who saw your strength and couldn't remain indifferent. The treatment is paid for. Take care of yourself." Laura cried with relief. She pressed the envelope against her chest. "Whoever you are, God bless you." She tried to find out who had paid. No one at the hospital wanted to reveal the name. They only said it was a man in a dark suit who had personally gone to make the deposit. Meanwhile, Ricardo was in his office. He looked out the window, thinking about Laura. He had paid for everything, but he had asked for secrecy. He didn't want thanks. He just wanted her to be well. For the first time in years, he felt something like peace. Maybe helping someone without expecting anything in return was what was missing in his life. Laura returned to the restaurant after the first cycle of treatment. She worked with more lightness. And every time she saw the empty corner table, she smiled to herself. But what no one knew was that the biggest twist was still to come, and it would arrive in a completely unexpected way. 2 weeks later, Ricardo returned to the restaurant. He sat at his usual table. Laura approached with the coffee, smiling. "Thank you," she said suddenly. "For what?" he asked, pretending to be surprised. "For the treatment. I know it was you." Ricardo remained silent. How did she find out? Laura took a crumpled envelope from her pocket. Inside was the deposit receipt and an old photo. In the photo, a 5-year-old child hugged a man. The man was a younger Ricardo. Laura trembled as she spoke. "That child is me. You are my biological father. My mother told me before she died that you abandoned her while she was pregnant, because she wanted to get ahead in life. She moved to another city so she wouldn't bother you." Ricardo felt the world spin. His face pale, his hands shaken. It can't be. But his eyes recognized his own smile in the photo of the child. Laura continued, her voice choked. "I grew up without a father. I've been working since I was 15. I never looked for you. I didn't want anything from you. But today, you saved my life without knowing who I was." Ricardo sat down heavily. Tears ran down his face. For the first time in years, "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." That shocking revelation, which changed everything in an instant, opened the way for an entire night of emotional confrontations. Ricardo spent the night awake, He remembered his poor youth, the fear of not achieving anything in life, the selfish decision to abandon his pregnant girlfriend. He thought she had had an abortion. He'd never imagined that a daughter had been born and had grown up alone. The next day, he went to the hospital. He saw Laura still weak, but with her usual firm gaze. The two talked for hours. They cried. They shouted. They forgave. Ricardo knelt before her. "I made a grave mistake. I don't deserve your forgiveness. But if you allow me, I want to get to know my daughter. I want to be the father I never was. I want to make up for the lost time." Laura, with her heart still wounded, but full of compassion, replied, "It's not the money that will erase the past, but the fact that you helped without knowing who I was shows me that there is still goodness in you. Let's try. Slowly, one day at a time." Ricardo hugged the daughter he never knew. For the first time, he felt what it was like to be a real family. The cold millionaire had broken, and in his place, a man willing to change was born. And it was from this deep transformation that a new beginning was born for the two of them. Months later, the restaurant Cantinho do Sabor received a complete renovation. Ricardo did not buy the place. He only helped Laura fulfill her dream to transform the space into a place where lonely and hard-working people could work with dignity and still study at night. Laura was stronger. The treatment was going well. And every afternoon, after her shift, she would sit with her new father to talk. Ricardo sold part of his companies. Not out of guilt, but out of love. He began to dedicate time to causes that helped young people who grew up without one of their parents. On a quiet evening, father and daughter sitting in the park, Laura said, "I spent years angry, but today I understand. Life is not about what was taken from us. It is about what we can still build together." Ricardo replied, his voice choked, "You taught me what money could never buy. Humility, strength, and forgiveness. Thank you for giving me a second chance." Oh, they hugged each other. The tears fell, but they were tears of healing. The true wealth is not in what we have in our bank account. It is in the love we give, in the forgiveness we offer, and in the courage to correct our mistakes. Never judge someone by their clothes, their position, or the size of the tip, because behind every waitress, there may be a daughter you never knew. Behind every millionaire, there may be a broken man in need of redemption. What unites people is not money, it is humanity. Do you believe in second chances? Have you ever lived or witnessed a story of forgiveness that changed everything? If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear about redemption and love. Leave your comment. What would you do in Laura's place? And if this message spoke to you, subscribe to the channel. But only if it really moved your soul. Thank you for watching until the end. May your life be full of unexpected encounters and true forgiveness.